In my mind, the Kimberley is almost like Antarctica without the ice and the wildlife. The scenery in this region, in the northwest corner of the Australian continent, is absolutely incredible. The geology that we encounter here is unlike anything else that we find anywhere else on this planet. The whole of the Kimberley region that we explore with Silver Discoverer has got this very rich iron ore deposit. In fact, Western Australia is famous for the iron ore mines, and many companies have made quite a lot of money in this area. And this area has got this very, very rich iron ore deposit that through erosion has come to the surface of these sandstone cliffs. So in the mornings, early on the morning and just by sunset time, it's got this very, very distinct red glow on the sandstone cliffs, and you just can't find it anywhere else in the world. It is so unique. The Kimberley region is explored by Silver Discoverer from Broome to Darwin, and we spent a solid 8 days looking at culture, Aboriginal art, wildlife, and the geology. The Silver Discoverer is perfectly equipped to travel through the Kimberley region. You know, our expedition team, rightly so, is made up of entirely Australians, people that absolutely love, live and breathe the Kimberley, people that have spent years, decades touring, exploring and studying the Kimberley, the geology and the wildlife. It is not only about the scenery and the wildlife that we encounter, it's also about the traditional landowners that we encounter while we're in the Kimberley. You know, the Bradshaw art is really very interesting, and instead of just our expedition team, we actually bring the landowners, the custodians of the art, on board the Silver Discoverer and into the field, so our guests learn from the people that are actually entrusted to keep these paintings alive. Because it's not that they make these paintings every single year, they refresh them every now and then, and it's passed on from generation to generation, and we hear the Dreamtime stories. It really is an expedition in the Kimberley, and we will do whatever it takes to get people ashore as often as possible. It is everything tidal dependent in the Kimberley. It's got the second largest tidal difference in the world. This means that everything that we do in that area is tidal dependent. It also allows us to visit some very, very spectacular natural phenomena. Sir David Attenborough called Montgomery Reef the 8th natural wonder of the world. It is a reef system that is about 250 square miles, and if we had to sail around it, it will take us at least 2 days. Every single day, this reef is exposed at low tide. When we arrive, and we plan it perfectly, when we arrive, there's nothing to be seen, just ocean. And we drop our zodiacs and we position the boats close to the reef. And then all of a sudden, the tide starts dropping and this reef just comes out of the water. And within 3 hours, this reef that was at high tide covered with about 2 to 3 meters of water is exposed and is out of the water 2 to 3 meters. It is incredible. Over 2 billion gallons of water will flow off this reef every single low tide. It is the only place on earth where I have gone uphill with the zodiac, and it is something that you cannot explain. It is only visible at low tide, or this experience at falling tide, and therefore often we will take people out at 5 o'clock in the morning if the low tide is at 5, or the start of the tide is at 5, and you have sunrise and you've got the falling tide, and you just experience one of nature's great spectacles. Of course, in the Kimberley there are saltwater crocodiles. Therefore, although it is very, very hot in the Kimberley, and although the water is very, very inviting, you cannot swim in the Kimberley. Therefore, it is really nice that on Silver Discoverer we have a swimming pool, and she's the only ship currently operating in the Kimberley that has a swimming pool. But you don't need only a swimming pool to cool down. You know, places like King George Falls, where we take our zodiacs and we go 10 miles up this gorge and we get to these spectacular waterfalls, and it is just too tempting to resist to take our Zodiacs and just stick them under the waterfalls. It is one of the most fun things that we do. April, May is the time of the year at the end of the wet season that the waterfalls are in full flow. Later on in the year, later on in the dry season, they dry up. Therefore, we only operate our Kimberly expeditions in April and in May, when the waterfalls are in full flow and you can actually experience these incredible sights. All our shore excursions are always included. We do not charge extra for these. With the exception of in the Kimberly, we offer an optional capacity controlled flight to Mitchell Falls. The reason that we don't include it is because there are only about 40 or 50 seats available on these helicopters to see Mitchell Falls, and therefore it's impossible for us to include it and then decide who goes and who stays. Therefore we sell it at net fare to our guests, and it's an incredible experience to fly in helicopters and take the doors of these helicopters, and we have a 30-minute flight to the most spectacular falls in the Kimberley region, the Mitchell Falls. It really is cool when the helicopter comes and lands on the island, Naturalist Island on the beach. It's almost in a survivor style mode, and the Zodiacs come up and we drop you off on this beach, you jump in a helicopter and off you go. It really is a very unique environment, and every single day brings something new, and we spend every single minute that we have exploring this beautiful natural area called the Kimberley. And on every single one of our trips, we visit the Bungle Bungle Range, best visible from the air, and we include that in every single one of our expeditions, complimentary to our guests, 2.5-hour flight over this geographical formations that was only discovered in 1985.